Hey, what's up everybody? It's Lyds, and we're back for some more Thronebreaker, and last time we made our way into the Blackbrook Vale area of Mahakam, an area that is supposedly haunted. And so we've encountered a few baddies and gotten some loot, and people said, well, Lyds, don't stray too far from the path, but thus far I haven't run into too many huge issues just yet. We do have this big point of interest, or at least I suspect it's a big point of interest on the other side of this bridge here, because the encounters we've had thus far, you could say, were purely optional, whereas this one looks like you pretty much have to go through it if you're going to progress, right? So I imagine that's going to be the big one. So let us press on here, and we also have a ton of resources, and I think that we had come very close to being able to afford something really big here. But we needed actually a little bit more wood if we're going for it. Yeah, this one here, the soldiers' quarters. We have enough gold, but we need little over 300 wood to make this happen, so that might be next on our agenda if we do, or at least in terms of upgrades, if we do get enough resources to do that, then we probably still want to be a little bit careful and not do it when we just barely have enough. Otherwise, you know, if we hit a spot where we very much need to make some upgrades and we are quite literally broke, then that could cause some issues. So we do have some extra gold to spare, but we'd like to have a little over 2,000 wood, even if we are thinking about making that upgrade. But anyways, let us progress here. That appears to be the bridge. Is there anything? Yes, there is something here. It's gonna say, let's see what this is all about. Okay, Your Majesty, this cemetery is the final resting place for the Dwarven settlers from all 7 expeditions to Blackbrook Vale. The first are centuries old, while others only a year. No doubt, there will be precious tributes buried with the bodies. We could order our soldiers to recover them, but I warn you, milady, that they won't like that one bit. Understandably so. If we do it, we get a decent sum of gold, little bit of wood, and, not so surprisingly, lower morale. Or we can say these dwarves have earned their right to eternal rest, and we shall leave our own tribute to honor their memory and pay them in wood. I mean, we're just saying that was perhaps the resource that, even more so than gold, we're most in need of right now. Or we could say, we'll pass. I mean, we do have a ton of shrines available to us right now. So, on one hand, morale, we can bounce back from that fairly easily. Thing is, as I was just saying, I expect we might be about to have a big encounter on the other side of that bridge. So if we had crossed the bridge first and then encounter this, then I might be a little more willing to try this out once we've seen what we're dealing with here and, you know, go into that encounter with normal morale rather than low morale. So, I mean, if we ignore this for now, can we come back on a later occasion? We can. Okay, so I think that is the play in that case. And it should still show up on our map now as a point of interest. Okay, so that will hopefully be a reminder for us. Looks like there's a little bit of loot here. And across those two things, it's not quite as much as, like, maybe half what we would have gotten from that spot over there. So yeah, I think we see what the deal is here, because I think this could be really big. And then, you know, if it's a difficult battle and we find a way to get it done, then I'd be more willing to take this on, because, you know, then we're more willing to be on low morale when, hopefully, there's, you know, not a big foreboding encounter awaiting us right around the corner. So, let us see what the deal is here. This is a huge bridge over the water. This is totally going to collapse, or collapse behind. Something's going to happen, right? Oh. Okay. Well, it kind of just looks like a bunch of monsters eating a dwarf dude. You know, they really made it sound like there was some very mysterious reason as to why all the people who had made expeditions here were unsuccessful. You'd think if it was just a bunch of monsters, they would have figured that out. But maybe that is the reason.
Blackbrook Vale. The name itself embodied infamy. Meve arrived expecting misty ravines, decrepit trees bound in spiders' webs, and swarms of bats. What she saw was a warmly gurgling stream and the valley's gentle slopes blanketed in crocus blooms. Only a village of abandoned, ruined huts and a cemetery stretching to the horizon behind it attested to the valley's grim past.
Okay.
The village seems shrouded in a guise. Be not deceived.
Oh!
Reynard! Some men to search the environs for any sign of life.
The blood-curdling roar that came from the ruins a moment later proved the Queen's caution warranted beyond any doubt.
Okay. So is it all some kind of mirage? Some illusion? In fact, this place is far, far worse than it appears? Perhaps we're about to find out. Okay, the Cursed Valley. If not for the aid of the Lyrian army, the dwarven settlers would likely have soon perished, shredded by wretched beasts hidden among the ruins. With the help of Meve and her men, they stood a chance of surviving, however small. The infamous Blackbrook Vale did indeed seem to be cursed. Hints. Hauntings are more common than you think. Special rules, shortened battle, so just one round. Very creepy music. Oh man. All right, I'm excited, but I don't know. A little nervous as well. Sounds like this could be a tough one. Just one round. Okay, before we start looking at our hand, let's see if we can figure out what we're dealing with here. So we have an oversized Algul. Whenever Meve plays a card with even power, boost a random ally by 3. If odd, damage random enemy by 2. That is really nasty. That is really nasty. You can either have them get boosted or have us take damage. There's not a lot of workaround. What if... Hold on. Whenever Meve plays a card with even power, boost an ally... I mean, could we play a Stray's Infiltrator and get that boosted? Because when we played, it should get strengthened by 1 by Valmir's Horn, which means it's still a random ally, so it's not guaranteed. But if there are only 2 units on the board, also love the music. But have we heard this one before? It gives me really big Hearts of Stone vibes, like Olgierd's theme. Sounds pretty similar to that, but whenever Meve plays a card, yeah, so like if we get you onto even power because of Valmir's Horn, then and we do that turn 1, and we play you next to this guy, then either you get boosted, or you get boosted, and that will boost the Stray's Infiltrator. So that feels like, assuming the order of operations is such that this boosts you up before it checks if you're an even or an odd number, then that could be really useful. So we might like the Stray's Infiltrators here. It's a way to actually benefit from that ability. And this guy doesn't appear to be a boss. So it looks like we can target him. That's probably what we want to do. And then what is the deal here? Stout Foglet. On round start, spawn impenetrable fog on all enemy rows. That's going to deal 2 damage, right? To, what is it? The smallest unit in a row. So we want to try to row stack if possible. So we're only getting 2 damage per turn rather than 4 damage per turn. But nonetheless, that's going to make it really hard for some cards to stay alive. Like, Isbel could be amazing, but at 3 power, she's going to be really vulnerable. So she's definitely a good thing to have if we can keep her alive. But that's perhaps easier said than done. Where were you? Alchemist? I thought I saw an Alchemist for a second. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I made that up, because I was thinking that could be a decent play as well. Martyrum Bear, for taking a lot of damage, especially to weaker cards, that could make a lot of sense too. Thunder could immediately... Can it immediately? With leader ability, could immediately destroy this Algul. I mean, on one hand, we'd kind of like to do that turn 1. On the other hand, as we were just saying, maybe combining you with the Stray's Infiltrator could be a decent option for us. Don't think we want Cavalry. Raider just a 10-point body, which is probably still better than you, because you might get destroyed before you get enough turns to pay off for us. Does Slinger work? I think we might try swapping you. Well, if we got Gascon, then it could be nice, but we don't yet have him. Okay, I do think we want an Alchemist. Alright, it's gonna have to be that. Okay, so... And this happens immediately. So, do we just immediately try to take you out, or do we go Infiltrator first and see if we can get a boost on that? Maybe we do... It means we're not using leader ability quite as quickly as we would like to, but let's give this a shot. So, boost up by the power of the unit to the right, so we should play you here.
We got a job to do.
It does not boost you up. Darn. Okay, so be it. Okay, wish that this guy was getting boosted. Every turn on turn end, boost up by 1 if impenetrable fog is on the battlefield. I mean, there's no way it's not going to be on the battlefield. When this unit's power surpasses 6, spawn a foglet only once. Every turn end, boost up by 1 if Oh. Oh. So they just keep coming out. Unless we shut them off. So we need to shut this one off immediately. Which means, I mean, leader ability does 4. Then if we could get 1 damage on top of that, we could go Gabor. I mean, Gabor by himself is enough. Don't really want to do Thunder, because then we hit you, and that's going to weaken the Strays Infiltrator. But this definitely did not go as well as we were hoping it would go. So I think we go Leader, drop you down to 1. Gabor damage, we'll get the overkill. Which will mean 9 damage, which we can use. It's going to pretty much have to be on you. Right? Do that, then it's Gabor. Do you always go to the opposite row? Yeah, or opposite side? Do we know what row you end up on? Like, if you end up here, we should play Gabor in this row. I'm gonna assume that's the case, but I don't remember exactly.
Alright, that's no problem.
Okay. And as we were saying, we would like to get rid of you, but I think we're gonna wait until the Infiltrator comes back, because that's about to happen. Then we'll target you. And you do end up over here, but Knickers ended up here as well. No, stop making these things. That's not good. Okay. Yeah, that could be a pretty big problem, as it turns out. Yikes. Okay, this is damaged by 2, right? So theoretically, we could transform Gabor into a bear on our next turn, and that'd be a nice play. On the other hand, we might want to wait for that. Xavier is basically a pretty much useless card for us. But Alchemist, I wanted to get this so that if we could get 1 big card, we can make 2 big cards out of it, or if they have 1 highly damaged card, we can obviously make 2 highly damaged cards out of that. But I think that's not enough. It hit you, obviously it's big overkill damage on you, but we get to destroy you as well. And a little bit of damage on you. Seems like it's just all about damage. Barnabas, we don't know what we're going to get. It might be damage. I kind of like the prospect of playing Barnabas in this row, though, and trying to keep Knickers alive. I mean, the resilience doesn't really matter, to be honest, because this is a 1-round match. But I mean, it's not guaranteed by any means. I think we need a sure thing here. Not loving it because of all the overkill damage, but it does get rid of that card that we really wanted to get rid of. And it does mean now we don't have a great option for you. Every turn start summon a Necker from your deck or boost up by 1 if this row is full. We've seen these guys before. Yeah. This looks like this is going to be a really tough encounter. I mean, we had a good hand, just not necessarily sure that it was the right hand for this encounter. Because, yeah, it does seem like we need all-out damage, and some of our damaging cards, like Skull, tend to require that we have a lot of units in our deck, or just other setup in general, which means in a 1-round match, that's particularly difficult to make happen. Really want to make sure we have time to play Isabel and use her ability on our next turn, which could be tricky. Technically, she should be able to do that, even if she's the smallest card in a row, as long as she doesn't get damaged by something beyond just the impenetrable fog. So what if we go Barnabas now, and we're looking for damage to hit you? I think that's what we want. I mean, we, yes, have Gabor. And Gabor will get destroyed, but I think what we'll do is second to last turn is going to be Isbel. Then takes a turn for us to use her order ability. So on our last turn, we activate the order ability and we transform her because she'll be on 1 power. Everyone else is on an even number, so they're not going to be worth quite as much value as Isbel would be when we transform her. Or, you know, we're losing slightly fewer points. Now, that is assuming that they don't have other sources of damage, which we actually know that they can have additional sources of damage. That could destroy Isbel. Yeah, that's kind of scary. Well, let's try to get rid of you then. Let's try to get rid of you.
Feel any burning? See a local healer or wise woman?
That's not terrible on Gabor. That's what, 15 points? Although he's still going to continue to take damage every turn, so we'd kind of just like to lose the card that's in a row by itself, because we're just giving them 2 damage every turn. So it's kind of a losing battle long term. If this were our last play and there was very little time for that row effect to continue to whittle them down, that might be okay, but boost allies by 2, damage enemies by 2. You know, we don't have a lot of cards on the board to benefit from that. Move 6 random enemies to the other row, damage them by 2. There's just not really enough stuff for that to be beneficial. I mean, these were good cards. They just were all good finishing cards and not great early cards. We're looking for a bigger burst of damage, ideally, for 1 target. So, how many turns left? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Which means 12 points of damage, which means a 16 point Gabor is going to get dropped down to a 4. So this is really just a 4-point play, in truth. So, assuming that he's going to be the only card that we ever want to play in this row. So, yeah, for that reason, this is actually the best option, because this is 6 8s and at least reduces armor here. Okay, so not amazing. Not amazing. And this guy's just going to keep on scaling. I think we are going to find this encounter is far and away the most difficult one we've had thus far in the entire game, is the impression that I'm getting. I mean, Isbel might single-handedly be able to save us just because we are taking a lot of damage from the fog, but oh, you know, Alchemist might have been able to make some use out of being able to boost up a card by 10, but or Arduin Bear giving us 2 cards at 22 power is an interesting prospect as well. That would mean that'd have to be a late play as well. So that would mean what? 3rd to last, 2nd to last, if we were to go that route, which means we need to go Savior, Skull, and Northern Wind in the meantime, and I think Xavier, as we were saying before, basically does nothing. So might as well use him now, because these guys, the longer we wait, the stronger they become, theoretically. So if we're trying to make sure that we have cards set up for all this stuff, we want to have our weaker cards on the right. And Xavier would be the weakest card in this row, so we should play him here.
My scars? No, they don't hurt.
Okay. I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, so like that's... And scales exponentially, right? It does. The more they get out, the more quickly they come out. And once they filled an entire row, then they just all get boosted. So, I mean, it does mean that Northern Wind, once they all are there and all have become boosted, will deal a little bit of extra damage, which will probably happen on the next turn. So although we only have 1 card in our... 1 unit in our graveyard, I'm afraid that Skull might have to happen on this turn. if we are planning on using Alchemist to get a double 22 power card, or one 22 power card and another 22 power card. I think that probably does need to happen. Also, Isabel with armor and a... Armor and one strengthening from Valmir's Horn. Can we play her one turn earlier? That means she's functionally a 5. So she can take 2 turns of damage. Hold on. That means we can go 3rd to last. Second to... Wait. You need to be second to last. You need to be last. Yeah, it still doesn't change much. Does it? 3rd to last, second to last, last? It still needs to be these guys now? I think so. So, I think it needs to be Skull, pretty much. And it's the world's most underwhelming Skull. It deals quite literally 1 damage. 1 damage. It does weaken their armor, which means that ultimately Northern Wind is going to be stronger. But obviously, you know, you're not telling me anything I don't already know. Clearly they have a lot more points than us right now. They spawned a bunch of additional copies of the Hulking Necker. I was really thinking that these guys were going to get boosted on that turn. I mean, they do have a lot of 7s. They do have a whole bunch of 7s with our leader ability. So using that plus Northern Wind would actually be a pretty decent play, one would think, and that is what we're planning on using here and now. So, I mean, that's something. And now with... Yeah, with Northern Wind, that's actually pretty amazing. Pretty amazing, come to think of it. Is that enough? I mean, they're still going to get more out here. What does this guy do? Consume the highest unit from your graveyard and set your charge amount by its power. Order damage an enemy by 1. This is scary because that could potentially make Isbel a little more complicated. But technically, Knickers, I swear, if you eat something here, not going to like that. But Isbel now, we're planning to put to the left of our most... No, she's going to be our most damaged card. So we want to make sure there is a card to the right of her. She's going to get transformed into the bear. Yes, she should be to the left of our lowest card, which means we should play her next to Knickers, unless Knickers eats something, and then Knickers would be our biggest card, but then we can't use Alchemist on... Or we can't use Martyr and Bear to... Knickers, just don't eat anything, please. Which I'm sure I've now proceeded to jinx. Also, we can't target Knickers with the Alchemist anyway, so it should be the Infiltrator here.
When will you ever learn?
Okay, so at 4 power, 1 armor, hoping that means you're big enough to survive here. More of those Neckers come out. Okay, they're going after, for some reason, Barnabas. Like, really going after Barnabas. Like, really destroying Barnabas. Okay, so now what we do is I mean, that does make Isabel a little bit stronger. So it was gonna, oh, she also needs to be damaged. She also does need to be damaged, and she's not yet been damaged. Xavier is damaged, but he's on the end, which means we can't... Alchemist doesn't work on himself, so we've lost. Like, the combo doesn't work anyway. Because the armor actually did not work. The armor worked against us for Isbel. I mean, we can use Isbel, and then that's going to give us some big boosts, and then Alchemist should be able to set something up there. It's going to be really hard to get Martyr and Bear. Martyr and Bear should be able to transform the Alchemist, though, because this will definitely be our lowest card once we use this Isbel boost, or Isbel herself will be damaged down to a 3. Hopefully. I mean, there is still going to be that damage. We do this. Big boosts. And now set you to a 22. And we're looking to convert you into bear on our next turn.
Greetings. What is it?
But you really need to... You will get hurt by the impenetrable fog. Still not sure that's going to be enough, though. Going after Isabel, that doesn't really make a difference here. Just as long as you remain the lowest card and get damaged by the... It damages the highest... Wait, Frost and Gwent multiplayer damages the highest card. Fog damages the lowest card. What the heck? It does the exact opposite, and it bricks this. I mean, yes, that's on me for not reading it, but on the other hand, why the heck does it do exactly the opposite of what it does in multiplayer, Gwent? Really? Well, yeah, I mean, that is my mistake, but I'm still not sure it would have been enough. Yeah, because it would have been, what, 20? And if you were down to a 4, still would have, you know, gotten less than 20 points. Obviously, that's not enough here. They still have one more card to play. So, doesn't do anything. That's all. I mean, actually, that does, but somewhat surprisingly. This won't. But yeah, at best, we could have gotten, you know, like 18-ish more points, gotten right around 100, maybe slightly less. So definitely not enough here unless they decide to destroy all their cards. These guys damage all units in a row if we can destroy them. Yeah. These guys will get boosted because the row is full. So now just trying to learn more from this encounter. This reminds me a lot of a similar encounter in Eddern. One of the ones that we deliberately avoided for a long time. We tried it once and we just couldn't handle it. And it had many of the same cards. And I think damage was just the answer. So we might have adjusted our deck for one of the previous encounters. This might not necessarily be our preferred deck here, and certainly, no. I think we'll be looking to swap some things around here. Think damage is the answer. State just had so many cards that we needed to remove. Like, this is basically free points. We should probably have you in rather than cavalry. And we can afford that, so that's good. You also appear on the board at the beginning, so that's also basically free points. So we'd like to have you 2. And we could dump, honestly, Xavier. And I mean, Slinger, when combined with Gascon, is good, but just don't think we can do much of that, because we're going to be prioritizing so much more of the damage. I mean, yes, the Slingers themselves have damage, Gascon does not, and we need to go all in on the Slingers for Gascon to pay off. So I don't love that, because I think we still prefer to have other things besides the Slingers. And since we have now 4 trinkets in our starting deck, that means we just have way more of these other guys that were, or way fewer of these cards that we're actually playing from hand, only 6. So just limits the total potential synergies for Gascon. Is that reason to remove Gascon? I mean, that's kind of where I'm bleeding here. At least for this encounter. Obviously, he has, at times, been one of our best point slams. But, like, getting rid of him and getting rid of... Where is... Reynard, because we don't have any order abilities that are useful for him to give back, besides potentially Isbel's, if we play her a little bit early. But we got a little bit of additional value last time from that, but I think that's unlikely to be a big factor. Do we have a second Gesso Arbalest? Why do we only have one? Okay, there we go. And then, I mean, that is enough cards. I think we have, besides Skull we probably want to dump. I was going to say probably the best trinkets here, but we do have a trinket for pure damage, right? Damage unit by 1 8 times. So it's good for single target damage. We want things like that. Skull in a long match with multiple rounds is great, but this might be a safe bet as well. For 30 points is pretty sweet. I think we can probably make that happen. We tried this before. Transform an enemy into Jade figurine and move it to your hand. Does that basically mean we just remove one of their non-boss cards? Because if so, that could be useful as well. Like the card they started off with would be a nice target for this. And I assume the Jade figurine is probably just like a almost useless card for us, but it's something. Mostly just about the removal of one of their best cards. That may not be a bad idea. We want to make sure we have enough damage near the end to take out those Rot Fiends, or at least one of the Rot Fiends, and chain the damage together from those. So I do like that. Northern Wind was amazing to deal with the Neckers. Even then, they were still able to do a fair bit with them, but that's actually kind of interesting. If we are unable to shut down the Neckers, then Dimeridium Bomb could help deal with them. I think this might be a little bit better. It's definitely, I think, a little bit better. I'm not sure if it's necessarily the best. Spectre's Dark Mirror is tempting as well. And this plays for... We saw it brick last time. Yeah, so maybe... I mean, that was in part because I mismanaged it. So I don't want to overreact too much. But as we were saying, at most, this caps out at 21 points. At most, this caps out at 30 points. So the high end is better for this. And I think it's still pretty safe to assume that we'll have the lowest card and they'll have the highest card, as long as we don't, you know, use a leader ability and weaken something down to 2 points and then use this and then we're in trouble. But with very minimal planning, I think we can still make that happen. As in, avoid that happening. Yeah. Let's try it one more time here with those modifications. Still not sure we're going to be able to pull it off, because this looks like a really tough encounter, and maybe something that we need to, you know, go back to a shrine and pray for, just to give ourselves a little bit more of an advantage. Our hand was pretty good last time, but I think now we have a better sense of what we need here. So I'm hoping that will help us out, and I'll skip through this because we've, of course, heard it before. So let's see. See, with better knowledge this time and some modifications to our deck, how much of a difference will that make? Because, of course, we need to finish this encounter. This is not optional. I forgot to take out Reynard. I mean, technically, could have worked with Isabel, but... Bombers could be really nice. It is a little dangerous when combined with Becker's Dark Mirror, because that could potentially lead them to have the lowest card on the board. The Infiltrator, if we play it late, could be good. That's one thing that we definitely bricked a bit when we played this early last time. I think Stray Slinger by itself, probably not a great option. Barnabas could certainly try. Do we want bombers for both rows? Or is one sufficient? I mean, obviously, whenever they play whatever row they start playing the Neckers in, we can definitely set that on fire. But do we set the other one on fire as well? Again, the key question there is that going to make it hard to set up Becker's Dark Mirror? It might risk that we end up boosting them. So it might mean we need to do an early Becker's Dark Mirror, just not out of the question. I mean, it would be overkill on this guy, but I wouldn't rule it out. Just like immediately doing it to shut him off. We would like to get leader ability in as well, but at that point it's even more overkill. Hold on. Leader ability for 4 gets you down to functionally 11, or at least we need 11 damage to get rid of you, which means that's not quite enough. Oh, except leader ability plus you guys. Ooh, okay, hold on. That's 4 damage, 8 damage, which means you drop down to, what did we say? You're functionally a 12, so you're down to a 4, which means that is enough. Okay. Okay, I like that. You can take out one of their most dangerous cards turn 1. That sounds good. Alchemist, I mean, plus Isbel should be a good combo for us still, I think. Still have some questions about this. I think that is probably better. I mean, that's more damage. So that's definitely a good thing, I think. I think we probably stick with this. This is pretty much as high damage as it gets. The one question I would have is, again, the double bombers here. You know, might we be able to get, I guess, Alchemist? I mean, obviously that's not damage in that case, but if we do get a lot of boosts from Isbel, then we could get a pretty big chunk of value out of these Alchemists, but let's go for this here, I think.
Take the settlers.
Okay, so we definitely have the smallest cards on the board. Forget what this order is. Move this unit to your deck, then summon a random unit from your deck to a random allied row. I totally forgot about this ability. So that... That is kind of nifty, especially if these guys start to take a lot of damage. They can basically be a way to just absorb a bunch of damage. Now, it actually means we don't really want to use the Becker's Dark Mirror right now. Oh, we weren't going to anyway. We weren't going to on this turn anyway, because we go leader ability. This is going to say we don't really want to boost these guys if they're going to be the ones that get boosted by Becker's Dark Mirror, because then suddenly we have a 15-point card or an 18-point card, and obviously we don't really want to get rid of an 18-point card. But let us now do this. What is the most... Is that still the most efficient way to destroy you here? I mean, Northern Wind, that's not really the way to use it. I mean, who knows what Barnabas will give us? I think we probably wait to play Barnabas a little bit later this time around and might be able to get a little more value out of him for that reason. So, let's just go for this. It does not say enemy unit, so technically if we have overkill damage, we do need to hit ourselves. And if I had... This is our first time using this card, I believe. So if I had realized that, then technically we could have led with this and then gone leader ability, and then we would have been fine. But, well, we were saying that perhaps we'd swap... It's actually, this hits highest card, right? So that means you're going to get hit, and you're going to get hit. So you guys in particular... If we can drop you down to 1 power, then we can very easily justify swapping you out. You will not get damaged by the fog. We can drop you down to 3. Then you'll be fine. Perfect. Get you out as well, which is good, because I didn't want to accidentally have you guys swap out for Knickers. I mean, we could swap you out right now just to play it safe, but we'd like to... at least perhaps wait to see if they have some units, because we'd rather have opposing targets for the slingers to go after rather than our own units, so that we avoid doing what we just had to do right there. Technically shouldn't be much of an issue. Yeah, we do need to get rid of these guys though, this guy in particular. So now we do this. Yeah, and if we do happen to get a slinger, then we can just go move you, move you, move you, and that's no issue for us. So let's do that. Oh, we don't even get the deploy ability, do we? It is a slinger, but I mean, okay, still works out for us. Would prefer for them all to end up in the same row, but you know, it's still better than 1 power. So now they do have the highest unit. It's not really a high priority target, because you've already done your thing. You are a high priority target. So this might be Gabor here. Destroy you. And then means we have how much overkill? It's 10 damage, right? So with 5 overkill damage, you're functionally 11, so you'll drop down to a 6. Which means we still have the lowest card if we want to go Becker's Dark Mirror on our next turn, which we very well may. Yeah. And we also want to set a row on fire pretty soon, but we'd like to do perhaps Becker's Dark Mirror before we do that. And we'd like to see what row they commit to the Neckers in before we do this. So, I mean, then again, we're going to be able to set both rows on fire, so I suppose the earlier we do it, the better. As long as, again, it's not going to mess with this, but we need to shut you down immediately, and this does not do that. So it does still need to be Gabor here.
Alright, that's no problem.
Damage, destroy, and damage. Okay, now you also need, or well, technically you also need to get destroyed, which is, at this point, a little trickier. Yes, they still have the highest card, but once again, it's not really a priority target. This might have to be Barnabas time. I mean, we could go Alistair's Thunder. It's not great. It destroys you, and the 5 overkill damage is, or the 5 adjacent damage is not bad. We'd, of course, like for there to be another unit on this side, and prefer for the middle target to be the biggest, but you are the highest priority. So it's either this, or it's Barnabas and take a gamble and hope we happen to get the damage to take you out, but I think that's pretty risky. I think we probably need to do this. They do now have the lowest card, so that is scary. That is kind of scary. Northern Wind can theoretically destroy it, but it means this Becker's Dark Mirror could become kind of tricky to pull off here. Okay, here are the Neckers, which means we now have the answer for where we would like to put the fire. So I think we can do that, especially because this is the row that, I mean, right, it is actually going to get boosted every turn. True. So it will eventually overtake our 4 power cards. So I think we will still do this here.
Catch!
On this row. Next turn will perhaps be Becker's Dark Mirror. So you'll be a 4. Might need to wait one more time. You'll be a 4 and you'll be a 2. So you'll get boosted up. I mean, we'd still prefer not to boost this card up because it's going to continue to take damage every turn. So this, we'd like to just have 0 cards in this row, as we were saying previously. Okay, this creates more of these Neckers. So we could Becker's Dark Mirror, and now it actually destroy you, or damage you significantly, not destroy you. I actually prefer to take you out at this point, because you are going to continue to gain value, and you're still would be overkill damage, not a ton of overkill damage, but alright, so at this point, I suppose we could bomb this row. Potentially drops you down to a 2. Which would make you the lowest card. We'd lose our Slinger at the start of our next turn. So it is kind of questionable. Yeah, that feels dangerous. That feels pretty dangerous. I think it does need to be either Becker's Dark Mirror here or take our chances now on Barnabas. Which now there are at least more units on the board, so it's a little bit better, but I think if we wait one more turn for a bunch more Neckers to come out, then there's the high-end potential for Barnabas is considerably higher. So it might need to be you. But I really don't want to boost you up. Could maybe sneak in Isabel. Wow, 52 already. That is a lot of value. We're really taking that much damage from what? Oh, we had to hit ourselves several times. So, I mean, technically that did power up Isabel. But since the highest power card gets damage from the fog, not the lowest power card, it is technically reason to believe a little more in Isabel's staying power, but they do have some other sources of damage we've seen. It's still not a given that she can stay alive. We wait one turn. You'll be a 5. We'll have a bunch of 4s in this row that will become the lowest card. Actually, if we play Isabel, she'll get boosted up to a 4 and gain 1 armor. She'll be tied for our lowest card here with several things. You, or you. And if we could get Becker's Dark Mirror to boost Isabel, then obviously her staying power is considerably higher. Much more difficult for them to remove her. Is that worth taking a chance on? Just one. We need one more turn. We need one more turn for so many things to kick off. I guess we do this. I don't love it, but the earlier we did it, the worse it was going to be for having a one highly boosted card in a row by itself. So we're at least mid-match at this point, making it slightly better. Okay. So now we do have leader ability back, and that means we can hit all these 7s, which means we can set up a northern wind there. Technically speaking, last time we waited 1 turn earlier on in the match, such that they had a full row worth of Neckers when we use this, and it almost completely wiped them all out. So that is kind of tempting to wait for that, to be honest. Now it is safe to go Stray's Bomber because we have already used the Becker's Dark Mirror, so that means we are not at risk of boosting this up. So I think in the interest of getting as much value out of that as possible, we should go this route here. I should be more mindful of setting up Alchemist plays here, but assuming that Isabel will help set that up. Okay, so now we go leader ability on all these 7s. Oh, we still don't have a great source of damage for those Rot Fiends. I totally forgot about them. They're presumably going to play at the end. I did forget about those. Okay, well, let's go after the 7s. Some of them have armor, which is... I mean, that's still fine. Should still be fine. A little bit extra damage from the Arbalest as well. And so now what we do is we go Northern Wind, and this is pretty huge here, as we saw last time. Fire could potentially even destroy 1 or 2 of these Neckers, which would be better still. But alas, that triggers first, or the fire just didn't destroy anything. It appears as though the fire just didn't destroy anything. Okay. So we do need to make sure we have at least 1 turn in which to play Isabel, or have Isabel on the board and then use her order on the next turn. And we'd like to probably use Alchemist immediately after that. So I'm thinking this might be the Barnabas turn for that reason. This is probably the Barnabas turn. Yeah. Probably. And we have so many 4 power cards that it's not really going to make that much of a difference for the Alchemist, I don't think. So let's go here.
Sorry, turnips back for an encore.
So this is kind of what I was looking for when I said we might as well wait, because we have a lot more allies on the board and a lot more enemies on the board as well. Can destroy most of the Neckers. Still have this one on the board, but it's not a bad deal. Move 6 random enemies to the other row and damage them by 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I mean, there's some value there. But I think it's still better to do this because we also get boosts as well. Damage 3 units by 3. We've already damaged destroy them instead. Well, I mean, that would just destroy these cards that were going to get destroyed anyway. So, not quite. I think it's still Lyria and Horn. Solid value, for sure. Solid value. Okay, next it needs to be Isabel. And we're running out of space a bit here, and this guy's going to deal a bunch of damage. I mean, if you want to go for the Slinger, that's actually fine. Kind of prefer if he gave us a little bit of room in this row, though. Like, he was going to take damage anyway. Okay, so now what we do is we use Valmir's Horn, move it, so we have room here. And we want Isabel to be in this row. And Alchemist doesn't need to be in a specific row, does he? No. So we play Isabel, and we should probably put Isabel. She would likely be the recipient of the Alchemist boost because she cannot boost herself. She'll boost neighboring cards, but so that means we want to put Isabel to the right of whatever our biggest card is, which would likely be Barnabas. Then again, Barnabas is going to get damaged by the fog, so I mean, it's anybody's guess because
So much anger and suffering.
she's going to randomly split these boosts. So we can't really say for certain how that's going to play out. Okay, still more Neckers. That's the Rot Fiend that ideally would be destroying. We will not have the opportunity to do so, though. So we use Isabel here. It's 100 on the boost. So needless to say, that's worth a fair bit of value. And as I said, the boosts are going to get randomly split here. So ideally, we would love to have Barnabas be the biggest card, and then we could give a really nice boost to Isabel as well. It's not quite going to work that way. We would love to basically have this 27 be on Barnabas, but still a 16-point boost.
If anyone asks,
Yes, we do need to put him in a row by himself, but it's, big Isabel, and much more successful on the damage this time around. They have one card left here, but it's looking pretty good at the moment. Famous last words, of course, as the Neckers start coming in here. More Rot Fiends as well. But we'll take the win. That first encounter there, the first attempt, it did not look good, but second time round, with some adjustments,
Following the victory,
we made it happen.
Hope seemed renewed. Could the beasts they felled have killed the previous lot of colonists? Perhaps the curse that had long hung over Blackbrook Vale was at last broken.
We thank ye, your majesty.
The settler's leader said, slipping the satchel from his shoulder.
You've granted us new hope. And a new home.
Well, that's good news. Hopefully that was the source of all of their troubles.
The dwarves had rolled up their sleeves, were prepared to go at the huts to repair them, when one of their number cried out.
Hold! There's something here. Something reeky.
A voice most familiar, thought Meve. Yes, for it belonged to Barnabas, the rescued inventor.
Okay.
The gnome had elbowed his way to the fore, stood on his toes, extended his nose, and inhaled through it like a pointing hound seeking out wildlife.
Oh. Now that's just
Ignoring
mean.
all queries, Barnabas had then sat down on the brook bank, filled a glass flask with water, and was now holding it up against the sunlight, dipping into it the tip of his tongue and some strange scraps of paper extracted from the depths of the pockets of his patched coat.
Water's cursed, or poisoned in some way, and that's actually the problem.
Finally, Barnabas stood, brushed his backside clean, and announced his findings.
Well, we know with some certainty the reason for the settlers' demise. 'Twere not beasts, no. They prowled in later, drawn by fresh graves. 'Twas the water. Oh, roll your eyes and whirl your fingers all you want, and then, here at the brook, nary a fish. All poisoned by subterranean fumes.
Ah, subterranean fumes. So is it because of their mining? And forging and whatnot?
The dwarves hemmed, hawed, and grumbled, and were a heartbeat from abandoning the Vale for good. Then Barnabas reached into his satchel and extracted a device of his own making he termed an aqua purificator. That is to say, a water cleaner, as odd as it may seem.
You need
Sounds
but
fitting.
siphon water through this straw. Then drink up. Worry-free.
Thus Meve rode out of Blackbrook Vale, deep satisfaction in her heart. The dwarves extolled her for being bold, shrewd, and wise, while Gabor ensured this praise would likewise reach the meaty ears of Elder Hoog.
Good. We need some more things working in our favor. Some more plus sides. Some good deeds for Elder Hoog. to think about when our name pops up.
We're the dwarves of Mount Carban. Hoo-hoo-ha, hoo-hoo-ha. And 2 hammers is our sign, is our sign.
Okay. If you say so. So it appears... Oh, that was a whole lot of loot there. It appears as though that was the source of all the anguish here in Blackbrook Vale, dare we say. It certainly seems like that was a compelling case that Barnabas just made. So that is very good news. We got the high morale from doing that. We got another positive checkmark on our resume for when we do eventually meet up with Bruver once again.
We feed those suffering hunger. Hoo-hoo-ha, hoo-hoo-ha. But our foes we smash asunder. Aye, 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 aye.
And we have singing dwarves as well.
Spill me ale and get a pound and hoo-hoo-ha, hoo-hoo-ha. Such is life neath the mountains. Aye, 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 aye. Spill me ale and get a pound and hoo-hoo-ha, hoo-hoo-ha. Such is life neath the mountains. Aye, 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 aye.
All right, I believe that is all from him, but let us get the fast travel spot. There are still some other question marks here. There was this point of interest where I think we saw we could get a few more resources, but it would lower our morale. Now that we're on high morale, perhaps we're a little more willing to take such a risk. And now that we've completed what looked to be a very difficult encounter, but hey, with some deck modifications, actually came out with a somewhat convincing win. No, that was not supposed to be that. That was supposed to be this. There we go. Not quite at, what was it? We needed 2,000 wood and 10,000 gold, so obviously well above that mark for the gold, but need a little more wood still for trying to get that next big upgrade. But nonetheless, I think this is definitely a good place for us to wrap up here. Good news, good progress, and coming up next, I mean, perhaps this question mark over here. This looks like this is another cave of some sorts, and almost a similar appearance to, where was it? Keltolis' cave over here. So, I mean, I doubt it's another dragon, but who knows, right? And then we're not that far away from the next main quest update down further in that direction. So lots of big stuff coming in the future, I have to imagine. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you next time.